Hello and welcome to a blockbuster episode of Tech It Out.
And we're calling it Blockbuster because this week on the episode, we are taking a look at some big new launches from the world of technology.
And the much hyped OnePlus 5 smartphone heads that list.
And we also review Samsung's most powerful tablet yet, the Galaxy Tab S3.
And Trishala expresses her creativity with the all-new Fujifilm Instax SQ10 camera.
All this and much more only on Tech It Out.
Right, so we're going to kickstart our blockbuster special with the all-new OnePlus 5. It's finally here in India, and this is the successor to the usually popular OnePlus 3T.
Sahil, but tell me, these guys launched the OnePlus, then they launched the OnePlus 2, the 3, 3T, and then 5. Where's number 4?
Okay, you know what, that is a great question, Pandey, and I'm really happy you asked me that. Basically, as you know, that OnePlus is a Chinese company, right? And the Chinese believe that 4 is a very unlucky number, hence they've skipped to number 5.
You know what, Sahil, I actually read this somewhere and I was really hoping that these guys, considering OnePlus, what OnePlus is for the smartphone industry, they had a better reason to skip number 4.
Well, whatever the reason is, I'm sure they have a very good reason, and if they're saying that 4 is an unlucky number, then 4 is an unlucky number.
So the question is whether number 5 is lucky for them or not.
Whether number 5 is going to be lucky or not. But what we do know about OnePlus is that, they're sort of a unicorn in the mobile industry. It's basically powerful specs meets, aggressive pricing. And that's what the OnePlus series has always represented.
Absolutely. And this is the most expensive OnePlus so far, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's the most expensive and it's also the most hyped. So, it really has to set itself apart from previous iterations, if it wants to leave a mark in the smartphone.
Absolutely. So lots at stake out here, and up next I'm guessing Sahil will review the phone. Considering I've been using a OnePlus for the last year and a half, I'm the rightful reviewer of this phone, but I know how touchy you are about phones. So up next, Sahil reviews the OnePlus 5 and finds out whether this phone is worth its hype or not.
The new OnePlus 5 bears all the hallmarks of a typical OnePlus smartphone. It has the latest and greatest processor, tons of RAM, and a beautiful aluminium body. But this time it has a trick up its sleeve, and that's the new dual lens camera, but we'll talk more about that later in this review. First, let's get the price out of the way. The new OnePlus 5 comes in two variants. The 64GB variant will cost you 32,999 rupees, and the 128GB will cost you 37,999 rupees. So basically the OnePlus 5 is going to cost you a little bit more than what you've been used to, which means the new OnePlus 5 has to be next level in order to set itself apart from its previous model, which also happens to be a little bit cheaper. So let's start with the display, which for the most part is very decent. Colors are sharp, vivid and punchy, but to be fair, the screen feels very much the same like the one on the OnePlus 3T. It's still a 5.5-inch AMOLED panel, which is still 1080p, as opposed to the more common Quad HD resolutions. Also, the display is not as impressive when compared to those edge-to-edge screens we've seen on Samsung Galaxy S8 or LG G6. Then there's the design of the phone, which has been accused of being an exact copy of the iPhone 7 Plus. And yes, to some extent it does have some similarities, but that's not such a bad thing. Look at it this way. If tomorrow I was supposed to gain a lot of muscle and people started calling me Vin Diesel, I'm not exactly going to complain, am I? In fact, I'm going to pack my bags and move to Hollywood. So yeah, it does look like the iPhone 7 Plus, but what's the big deal? At the end of the day, it's a very good looking phone. The aluminium unibody looks just stunning and has been refined from last year's OnePlus. It's now much slimmer with the rounded edges and corners feeling really smooth. It also sits comfortably in your hand. It's actually like holding a high-tech feather, practically weightless. In terms of performance, the OnePlus 5 could very well be the fastest phone I've ever used. The Snapdragon 835 processor runs the show. Everything opens fast on this phone, nothing ever lags, and multitasking has never been more efficient thanks to all that RAM power. But if you ask me, 6GB of RAM is a complete overkill. 4GB of RAM is more than enough for any Android phone. It's a nice spec to boast about, but you're not going to notice it all that much. Inside, you'll also find a 3300 mAh battery, which does a decent job. On an average, I was able to get 4 to 4.5 hours of screen time with it, which is good, but not great. Software-wise, the OnePlus 5 comes with Android Nougat 7.1.1 with Oxygen OS running on top. And if you ask me, the Oxygen OS is probably the best Android skin you'll find on any phone, hands down. The software is very light and slick, but more importantly, there's barely any needless bloatware. Clearly, OnePlus has gone for the less is more approach with this phone, and honestly, it works like a charm. There's also a couple of new features thrown in, like the reading mode, which filters out blue light and uses grayscale mapping to make reading easier on your eyes. It's odd at first, but it does actually make reading text a whole lot easier. Now let's talk about the most hyped feature of this phone, which happens to be the camera, and you'll notice one big difference straight away. Instead of one lens, you're getting two lenses. One is your standard 16 megapixel lens, and the other is your 20 megapixel telephoto lens. For the most part, the dual camera clicks good pictures in good lighting conditions. But the 16 megapixel camera doesn't have optical stabilization, which leads to less than impressive images in low light conditions. Also, the new portrait mode, which is supposed to give you that defocused DSLR look, isn't all that special. The effect proved to be patchy, especially when the object's outline is tricky. Another annoying thing about the OnePlus 5 is that it's not water resistant. I mean, this isn't a huge inconvenience, but it's one of the key features you want your phone to have in order to stay competitive with other flagships. Overall, the OnePlus 5 retains its predecessor's qualities and even builds upon it, but it's far from perfect. I mean, this phone needed that one feature that would truly set it apart and make it worthy of being called a flagship killer, and that was supposed to be the dual camera, but sadly, it doesn't live up to all the hype. Don't get me wrong, I mean, this isn't a bad phone, but it could have been so much more.
And with that, we're taking a very quick break on Tech It Out.
But more tech action with Pandey and I on the other side.
Sahil, are you going to call me Pandey throughout this episode?
Pretty much. I think it's going to be the new trend from now on. Pandey. It sounds really, it just rolls so nicely off the tongue, right? I mean, guys, like we have our producers, I think they will agree. So say Pandey, just Hardika say Pandey. Okay, Himani say Pandey. Okay, we have a camera. Wait, we have a cameraman here.
I'm not allowed to say on camera.
Hi, Mr. Cameraman, say Pandey. Okay, and another one this side from your close-up. Say Pandey. It's beautiful, man. Everyone loves Pandey. In fact, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to make a Twitter page and we're going to say we love Pandey. Hashtag we love Pandey.
You know, and producers alibi to this. One of these days on the show, Maniktala, I am going to knuckle punch you.
Violence is never the answer, okay?
I'm pretty sure that
Pandey,
comes after looking at this.
Pandey,
The beauty
violence
of
is
this
never the
knuckle
answer.
punch.
Okay, violence is never the answer. We're taking a break. Pandey and I will be right back. We'll be right back, okay? Welcome back. You're watching Tech It Out here on WION, and now we're going to move on to something.
Sal, I have a question.
Okay, you don't have to raise your hand. You do know that, right? You're not in school anymore.
I don't, but you behave like this Mr. Know-It-All, knows everything. Almost remind me of a prof back in college, so seemed appropriate.
Handsome professor, was he?
Not saying anything.
Okay. Okay, so what's your question? Shoot.
My question is that I really don't understand this buzz around smartphones. I mean, even though I'm a happy OnePlus user, but the OnePlus 5 seems just like any other phone.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting observation. A lot of people would make that observation. You know, sadly, that's what the smartphone market has really come down to. There's barely any more innovations left in phones these days.
But that brings me to another question, is that with the way technology is advancing these days, what's stopping companies to innovate like never before?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right? But luckily, we got hold of someone who knows the smartphone industry better than you or I. Well, better than you. I mean, I know pretty much everything there is to know.
You're just touchy, Sahil. You're just touchy.
Yeah, well, I am the know-it-all professor,
I said
right?
pretend to know it all, professor.
Right, so up next, let's take a look at why smartphones are getting so dull and what the future is of smartphone innovation.
I'm sure that many of you, just like me, must be thinking that why phones look pretty much the same today, why they offer pretty much similar things, why smartphone companies have not been innovating as aggressively as they would do a couple of years ago. To address all of that and to help you understand even more, we have with us on show today Mr. Amit Boni. Amit has been serving the mobile industry for a long time, and before joining Smartphone as VP for Sales and Marketing, Amit has played a key role in Motorola India. Welcome to Check It Out, Amit. Amit, I would like to start with a very basic question with you,
Sure.
as I always do. How far do you think the smartphone market has come today, ever since the first iPhone was introduced, and where does it actually stand now?
Well, I think, and if you're talking specifically in India context, I think we're still a long way to go. If you see the per capita smartphone penetration in India is still low. The TAM, or the total addressable market in India on the phones, is probably upwards of 200 million units, probably a little more than that. But if you see the number of smartphones only, we are still looking at about 120, 125 million as the total addressable market for the year. So fundamentally, there is still a lot of people out there who are going for feature phones. And then you have a bunch of people, who are really buying not so great quality smartphones in early price tiers, entry price tiers. So I mean, from purely India context, I think there is still a long way to go before we could say everyone in India has a smartphone in hand.
But Amit, every phone today has something similar to offer. What do you think is actually holding these companies back? Is it lack of innovation, market saturation, or something else totally?
From my perspective, there is definitely not saturation. Lack of innovation, yes, you can practically accuse the industry of that. There is very limited work that's happening in terms of hardware innovation. Most of the work that's being done is happening at the chipset level. Those guys are doing some really good work to make sure that, with a quick charge from Qualcomm and so on and so forth. There's a lot of good stuff that's coming on that side. But otherwise, from a pure hardware side, very limited work has happened over last 5-8 years in terms of innovation.
So Amit, where do you see the mobile industry going? I mean, what do you think is going to be the next defining factor in the smartphone space?
I think, so before I answer that, let's take a step back. If you see fundamentally phones, when we look today, we look at them as a standalone product, right? So every time when we're saying there's a good device or there is not such a good device, it's essentially spec to spec comparisons. People will say, oh, this is a more RAM now, this is a bigger display, there is more internal storage. That's what generally people talk about. Now, as long as that stays, there is not much that's going to happen. But I think there is a growing understanding, and I mean, I can tell you from Smartron's perspective, I mean, when we are doing a bunch of devices, we are focusing on ecosystem, because we realize, we understand that it's not only about putting great hardware. What consumers are looking for are great use cases.
Amit, having said that, there is a lack of innovation in the market. The smartphone space has been facing lack of innovation right now. But then there are a set of companies which are actually trying to make things better, which are actually coming up with new concepts. And one of them is modular concept. So how far do you think this concept can go? How is it emerging? Or does it even have the potential to appeal to masses out there?
I think modularity is a phenomenally good concept. Unfortunately, I don't think companies so far have been able to come out with something that truly does justice to that thought process. As a concept, I mean, if somebody tells you don't have to replace your overall device, but you can go and, for example, replace a camera if there's a new camera sensor coming in, or you can replace the speaker and get a better speaker coming out for your device. I think at a thinking level, at a very eclectic level, there are some really interesting thoughts out there. But it also needs to be seamless for an end consumer. It cannot be either highly priced, so much so that your modular solutions are at times costing as high as your device itself. So I think the future of smartphones, or maybe a lot of other consumer electronics, will be modularity. Are we there yet? No. I think it's going to be another 4-5 years down the line till you will see modular use cases coming, which will be more widespread.
And talking about the innovation, how promising do you find the concept of augmented reality ready smartphones?
If you ask me, I think from a pure tech next steps, because I see innovation in 2-3 different facets. I see innovation in terms of use cases, I see innovation in terms of business models, and then you see innovation purely in terms of technology additions. I think from a pure technology addition perspective, your Internet of Things, your AR, your VR are next steps where your devices, your phones and these technologies will become a lot more connected.
As we all know that India is one of the sought after markets when it comes to smartphones. And a lot of companies are setting up their assembly units in India. But now with GST into the picture, how do you think the game is going to be like for the manufacturers out there?
I don't see it changing anything for a manufacturing sector, because I'm pretty sure that the government is cognizant of the investments that have been made in terms of having a better manufacturing ecosystem in the country. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be supportive of that. I don't see GST changing anything with respect to manufacturing strategies. What GST will very interestingly do is, I think it will alter the dynamics of last 3-4 years, as you've seen, between online and offline, because suddenly now there is no arbitrage in terms of VAT that existed earlier for online players. It's a much more better level playing field. So I think it needs to be seen how the market shifts, but I'm punting that you will see some share shifts happening from online to offline.
That's all for now, Amit, and I'm really glad to have got some really interesting insights from the man who has known the industry inside and out. Thanks for joining us on WION, and it was really a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Very good to talk to you again.
Thank you so much.
Well, time now to take yet another break on Tech It Out.
But our Blockbuster special continues on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Tech It Out on WION, and now we have another blockbuster gadget for you guys. I'm talking about the all-new Samsung Galaxy Tab S. And what exactly are you doing right now?
Hang on, something important.
Hello, come on, show to do.
Okay, are you ready? Drum roll.
Okay.
Guess who?
Yeah, is that supposed to be me?
Yes, with sideburns. See?
I like the mutton.
I'm sure you miss your hair, right, Sahil?
That's
So
very,
I gave you a few.
Yeah, that's very generous of you. But I see you've discovered the S Pen.
It's amazing. I love it.
You know what you should do with that picture, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, you should print it out, stick it on your bedroom wall. So every morning when you wake up, you look at my face and you get all the inspiration you need to start your day. How does that sound?
That's a very profound suggestion, Sahil. But the only place this photograph is making it to is my punching bag.
Okay, all right. Snap. Love it. Okay.
And you snap and you don't do snap, right? That's the best snap ever. But anyway, Mr. Pretend to Know It All, tell me, why is Samsung still making tablets? I mean, with phones becoming larger, laptops becoming thinner, reducing the need for a tablet anymore, right?
So opinionated you've become.
Maybe
Pandey. I
that
started
Pretend to
noticing
Know It All stuff is rubbing off.
Yeah,
huh?
I can see that. But yeah, you're not wrong. A lot of people are saying that tablets, are dying breed. But Samsung claims that with this one, it's more than just a tablet. That's why you've got that stylus there, and it also comes with a detachable keyboard. So this is directly competing with the iPad Pro.
Okay, so what remains to be seen is what the Samsung Tab S3 has to offer, and whether or not is it more than just a tablet like Samsung says.
Once again, Samsung takes on Apple, but this time with its brand new Galaxy Tab S3, which directly pits against the iPad Pro. Well, the new warrior from Samsung is as promising as Apple's offering, but the question is, where does it actually stand in the competitive tablet market? And we're going to tell you exactly that. Well, first things first. Starting with the look and feel of the device, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S3 is nicely built and carries a light weight. While the front side of the tablet is wrapped in a big screen, the rear panel has a cutting-edge, seamless design that not only looks stylish but also maintains a balanced grip. We can say that, like us, you too will be floored by its beauty. A tablet shouldn't just be an enlarged phone. We believe that all you professionals would agree that it should be capable of doing much more than your regular phone. And this is where a stylus comes into the picture and helps gain the Galaxy Tab S3 a few more points. The stylus is nicely integrated into the OS. Not only this one is bigger than the previous S Pen and is much easier to hold and use. The new S Pen is almost accurate. It's designed in a way that it does not roll away. Also, it has flat sides and a clip to hold on to. Another good thing here is that the S Pen doesn't need to be charged or paired. Now coming to what matters the most, the Galaxy Tab S3 has a 9.7-inch impressive, vibrant QXGA Super AMOLED screen, which is perfect for doing almost anything, from making presentations to watching videos to playing games. The display is great to look at. It produces vivid colors and crisp details. The excellent picture quality on the tablet is complemented by 4 quality speakers placed on the top and bottom of the device. The tablet features positional audio, which means that it rotates sound blaring out of the speakers as you turn the tablet.
Creepy stuff happens in no way out. It's up to courage to save his new home.
All in all, the speakers are pretty satisfying and loud enough for you to do your job and enjoy movies. And if looks make you fall for a device, it's the performance that takes you close to the buying decision. So, getting straight to its engine, the Galaxy Tab S3 is powered by a top-of-the-line Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 processor. It comes with 4 GB of RAM and 32 GB of internal memory, which is further expandable up to 256 GB via a micro SD card. The tablet runs on Android 7.0 Nougat and comes with Wi-Fi plus LTE connectivity. It supports fast charging and packs a 6000 mAh battery, which offers up to 12 hours of video playback. With relatively modern specs, the tablet runs smoothly. We were able to run some games, videos and apps without any issue. Also, it didn't disappoint us on the multitasking front as well. Well, everything was fine until we switched on the camera. The rear camera works just fine. But the images taken with the front camera turn out to be grainy. This comes as a surprise to us, as Samsung's recent smartphones have pretty good cameras. We would say that at Rs 47,990, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S3 is a good tablet. And if you're planning to buy a tab anytime soon, we suggest you not to rule it out.
Okay, so we're almost done with our Blockbuster special, but we still have one really cool flagship gadget to show off, and this one comes from Fujifilm.
It's the new SQ10, and just like the Instax cameras before this one too can print and capture instant photographs.
But the SQ10 also has a really cool trick up its sleeve because it happens to be a digital camera as well.
It's basically Fujifilm's attempt to remain relevant in the age of Instagram.
Yep.
And up next, Trishala brings us a full review.
Ask any book lover about the joy of smelling a new book or flipping through its pages, and you would know the power of small little things in life. Now, we are not here to review a book. Instead, we get you one such tiny thing that brings along with it a lot of special feelings. Now, it might not tick your utility box, but what it does is it gets you a lot of unforgettable moments for your jar of happiness. Joining a pool of postmodern vintage devices is the new Fujifilm Instax SQ10. While there's a dearth of instant cameras in the market, this one takes a step ahead. It takes a modern take on retro photography.
Snap it like it's your phone and feel it as a retro photo print. But we know that this alone cannot be a buying factor for you. So let's dive deep. And we will clear the air to find if you should breed this vintage.
Now, it's not as small as the other instant cameras that we've seen before, but then you know, the bigger, the better.
Let us tell you that this one is slightly bigger because it's digital. Yes, you heard that right. The camera has a screen for you to view what you snap so that you can print your favorite ones.
Now, this cute looking Instax SQ10 is fun to use and captures photographs in a square format of the Instax film.
No wonder the camera has been designed smartly, and what makes it even better is the ergonomical design that offers a great grip to it. Made of good plastic, the camera's rounded corners make it even more comfortable to operate. The lens ring prominently sits in the front with on and off buttons integrated right into it. There are two more buttons right near the lens, one to click pictures and the other one to change shooting modes. Keep it normal or double the exposure as you would like.
The biggest highlight of this camera is its digital nature, something that we badly missed in all other instant cameras, especially when we like to try and try until we get that perfect pose.
This means that unlike the other instant cameras, now you can click unlimited photos and then decide which one is worth a print. There is an LCD screen right behind the lens to see all the action, but make sure that your camera is set to manual. Otherwise, all your photos will print as you click. You can easily switch between the auto and manual with the toggle button placed on one of the sides.
So now if you're wondering where would all those photos store, fret not.
Because the camera comes with a micro SD card slot that can store thousands of pictures, unlike the built-in memory that can store up to 50 pictures.
And the more, the merrier. Its features don't end here.
The camera also offers you a menu option to customize your frame and photo settings. The menu keys are positioned right below the screen and the camera menu is comprehensive enough for you to play with the settings. Like for instance, you can scroll through 10 different filters.
And before I forget, these multiple features definitely take away the brownie points.
And what else? The autofocus on the camera sets really fast. But as you would expect, it takes a little while to focus in low light.
Well, many of us don't like using the flash even in low light situations, but trust me, the flash here does a far better job than a lot of other phone cameras that we are used to. The camera uses a 3.7 megapixel CMOS sensor, which I must tell you is not so phenomenal, but it does a fine job at printing good quality pictures.
But I would add that be a little wary of light around when you click, as it gets a little frustrating to print overexposed pictures taken in daylight, which means wastage of a print, something no instant camera lover would love to experience. While the camera has more than what you expect from an instant camera, but imagine that if this feature-rich camera had Wi-Fi connectivity too, wouldn't it have been a real game changer then?
Life is not always about sharing everything on social media. At times, it's about beholding the beauty of moments, and in this case, the moments that you can capture, preserve, and cherish forever.
Well, for Rs 22,000, this might sound too much to you, but if you can afford it, grab it.
Well, that's it for this episode of Tech It Out. We really hope you enjoyed the show.
You can of course follow us on our social media platforms.
And also, as promised earlier in the show, that hashtag #WeLovePandey Twitter page is now all ready. So make sure you send your comments and thoughts to that as well. I think it's really going to trend.
So Team Pandey, hashtag Thug Manikala Life.
It's all for you. It's hashtag #WeLovePandey. It's like for your benefit, not for mine. I mean, I think it's going to do really well. Okay.
Only you know the benefits behind that, Sahil. You guys know which team you're on.
We'll see you same time next week. See ya.
Thanks so much for watching.